If you work for a nonprofit, you know that stories, they're basically your lifeblood, right? They connect people, they inspire, they drive real action. But there's this tension, this constant push and pull. How do you tell a really powerful story without, exploiting the very people you're trying to help? Let's get into it. I mean, this is the big one, isn't it? The question that keeps so many of us in the sector up at night. How do we capture the honest truth of a tough situation to get support, while also honoring the absolute dignity of the person who's living that truth? That's the tightrope we're going to walk today. So first things first, let's look at the data. When nonprofit pros were asked how important this stuff is, well, the response was a total landslide. I mean, look at this. Almost 99% agree that ethical storytelling is extremely or very important. It's a top priority. But that's only half the picture. Because here's the flip side. When those same people were asked how prepared they feel to actually do this work ethically, the numbers tell a totally different story. Nearly 60% feel like they're barely equipped or not at all. This is what we can call the storytelling gap, this huge disconnect between really wanting to do the right thing and actually knowing how to do it. Okay, so here's our game plan to bridge that gap. First, we'll really dig into this dilemma. Then, we'll get into the science of why stories are so powerful in the first place. After that, we're going to build a solid, practical framework, see how it looks in the real world, and then finally pull it all together so we can all tell better, more powerful stories. So let's start right there with what that data just showed us. This is the storytelling dilemma. It's this crisis of confidence where everyone has the best intentions, but the tools and the training, they just haven't caught up yet. So to solve this, we got to understand why stories are so potent to begin with. They're not just little anecdotes, they are powerful psychological tools. They tap directly into our emotions. And just like any powerful tool, you've got to handle them with some serious care and responsibility. And really, when you boil it all down, every great story has three simple parts. You've got a character, someone we can connect with, a conflict, the challenge they're up against, and a desire, the thing that's pushing them forward. Get all three of those, and bam, we are hooked. And this quote from Hollywood script guru Carl Iglesias it hits the nail on the head. Emotion, not logic, is the lifeblood of a story. You can throw all the stats in the world at someone, but it's that feeling, that empathy, that emotional hook that actually inspires an audience to do something. And because we're working with real human emotions, the ethical stakes get incredibly high. So, if emotion is the fuel, how do we handle it responsibly? Well, that brings us to our ethical framework. This is the real heart of our conversation today, a clear, simple structure to help us navigate these tricky waters. It all really comes down to these three pillars. Number one, true consent, which is way more than just getting a signature on a form. Number two, storyteller dignity. This is the big one. The person is always more important than the story. And number three, a trauma-informed approach, which is all about actively preventing harm every single step of the way. Let's talk about consent for a sec, because it's really about power. T. Clay Buck puts it perfectly here. True consent means the storyteller, the person whose life this is, has the final say, period. They get to see the final cut, read the article, approve the photo before it ever sees the light of day. It's their story. They're in control. And being trauma-informed, that starts way before you even think about hitting the record button. This little checklist from expert Maria Bryan is a fantastic guide. You explain everything up front. You let them pick the spot. You ask if they want a friend there. And you absolutely ask about triggers to avoid. It's all about making their well-being priority number one. Okay, so with that whole framework in mind, let's get practical. How does this stuff actually look in our day-to-day work? Let's take this from big ideas to a playbook you can actually use. This slide really lays out the two paths you can take. Over on the left, you've got the old, harmful model, sometimes called poverty porn. It's all about trauma and desperation to make people feel guilty, and it makes the donor out to be a savior. But on the right, you have dignity storytelling. This focuses on resilience, on hopes and dreams. It creates real empathy, and it frames the donor as a partner. See the difference? We're shifting from guilt to empathy, and from savior to partner. Now, visually, this can be tricky. And as Carly Euler points out here, authenticity is everything. Think about it. With all the AI images and slick stock photos out there, people are getting more and more skeptical. Real, authentic photos and videos, that's how you build trust. So how do you show transformation with respect? I think this image is just a brilliant example. We don't need to see a person at their absolute lowest to understand a struggle. This picture of a happy dog just thriving with his wheelchair tells a whole story of resilience and joy. It's like Natalie Monroe says, you gotta focus your lens on the transformation, not the failure. And check this out. Here is a fantastic, super actionable tool for your writing. Fundraising expert Kelly McLaughlin calls it the powerful we framework. Just look at how it shifts the whole narrative. It's not donor saves victim. No, it's a person faced a challenge. They found us. We worked together, and you made that possible. Together, we made a change. It's collaborative, it's about community, and it gives everyone agency. Which brings us right to our final section, telling a better story. Really, this is all about the huge mindset shift that's underneath all the practical tips we've been talking about. At the end of the day, this is the goal. As expert Elizabeth Noble puts it, our job isn't to be saviors rescuing victims, it's to be allies and instigators. It's about telling stories that don't just point out a need, but actually uplift and show off the incredible brilliance, power, and resilience that's already there in the community. And if there is one single thought you take away from all of this, let it be this one from Chris Miano. A person's story is not a fundraising tool, it is a life, an infinitely valuable life. And our number one job is to care for that life, to uplift it, and to never, ever exploit it. So I'll leave you with this one last question to chew on, because it kind of reframes the whole job. See, anyone can be a storyteller, but a steward is someone who's entrusted with caring for something precious. So ask yourself, are you just a storyteller trying to get the most clicks and donations? Or are you a story steward dedicated to protecting the valuable, living truth you've been so honored to hold?